Ali stood on the porch of his small house and watched the sky grow dark. The streetlights flickered on one by one, but the empty road felt colder than the evening breeze. He held the letter Sarah had sent weeks ago, its edges worn from being read too many times. The ink was smudged in places where he had traced her words with his finger, searching for comfort. Sarah had moved to another world at the edge of human space. She had been Ali's closest friend since they were children. They had shared secrets under starlit skies, laughed at silly jokes, and supported each other through every challenge. Now she was gone, and his heart felt heavy. Every day Ali woke with a longing he could not shake. He replayed memories of their last day together, the taste of sweet fruit in the market, the way Sarah's eyes lit up when she saw a hidden art exhibit, the promise they whispered to stay in touch. But the promise felt fragile now, like glass ready to shatter. At work in the colony's communication center, Ali stared at his console as it hummed. He scanned messages from traders, tourists, and distant friends, but none were from Sarah. His screen filled with daily reports, shipping requests, and routine checks. Inside, his heart yearned for her name to appear. When the shift ended, Ali walked to the viewport overlooking the city. Lights of thousands of homes glowed like fireflies. A mother waved at her child. A group of engineers tested new drones. Everywhere he looked, life pulsed forward. Yet Ali felt frozen. He wondered if Sarah saw the same wonders, or if her new life left no room for old memories. That night, Ali stood under the open sky and spoke to the stars. "Sarah, can you hear?" "Me," he whispered. His voice trembled. He did not believe the stars would answer, yet he shared his hope with them. He believed in the human spirits to connect across any distance. The next morning, Ali decided to act. He drafted a message to Sarah that poured out his feelings. He wrote about the morning sun lighting up his room, about the smell of fresh bread at the market, about how every small thing reminded him of her. He paused at each sentence, unsure if he should send so much emotion across the void. He remembered something Sarah had once said: "Words are bridges." With that thought, he pressed send. The console beeped, and his message joined the stream of data traveling toward her world. Ali closed his eyes and took a deep breath. He felt fear, but also a spark of hope. Hours passed. Ali tried to distract himself with other tasks, but his mind kept drifting back to the message. He stared at the empty inbox, imagining her reading his words and smiling. He pictured her reply, her handwriting on the screen. At the end of the day, a new notification appeared. His heart pounded as he opened it. The screen showed Sarah's name. His eyes filled with tears before he even read her words. She had written back. "Sarah's reply," he whispered, hands shaking. She told him about her new home, its tall buildings, made of crystal, the gentle hum of hover cars, the kindness of her new neighbors. Then she wrote, "I miss you too, Ali. Let's find a way to bridge the distance." Ali read her message again and again. The sadness that had weighed on him felt lighter, smiled, and for the first time in weeks, he felt excitement and strength. He realized that distance could not break the bond they shared. He stood once more on his porch as the stars began to appear. This time, he did not feel alone. He whispered to the night, "Thank you." Humanity had created the means to send his words across the galaxy, and his friend had answered with hope. Ali knew their friendship would grow stronger, no matter how far apart they were. Kai woke before dawn, his mind heavy with thoughts of Maya. He sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the small hollow poster on the wall. It showed them laughing together under the golden sun of their home colony. Now that image felt distant, like a dream he could no longer reach. Every morning, Kai tried to follow his routine. He brushed his teeth, boiled water for tea, and opened the comm link to check messages. Nothing from Maya. His heart sank each time he saw the empty inbox. He stood by the window and watched hover cars glide between glass towers. Life carried on around him, but he felt paused. At work, Kai sorted maintenance reports for the city's biodomes. He noted that the flower panels in Sector 12 needed new filters, and that the humidity controls in the orchid chamber required slight adjustments. All tasks he had done 100 times before. He typed the notes with careful precision, hoping the familiar work would calm his mind. Despite the busy morning, his thoughts drifted back to Maya. He remembered her bright smile when they discovered a hidden mural in the old tunnels. He remembered how she gently held his hand when he watched the first sunrise on another planet. He remembered her voice, full of wonder, asking him what else lay beyond the stars. At lunch, Kai joined his friend, Lila, in the cafeteria. She nudged him, offering a bowl of soup. "You look tired," she said. Her dark eyes were kind. "Maya still hasn't written back." Kai shook his head. He stirred his soup, but did not eat. "I miss her," he said softly. "Want to reconnect. But I don't know how. She's so far away." Lila placed a hand on his shoulder. "You are a strong person, Kai. You always find a way when things seem impossible. Remember when the power grid failed and you rigged a temporary link with spare parts? You will find a way to reach her." Her words warmed him like the sun's first rays. He nodded. "You're right. I can try something new." After work, Kai walked to the city park. Neon flowers glowed in the twilight. Families strolled along the pathways. Children chased light drones. Kai sat on a bench beneath a silver-leafed tree. He closed his eyes and thought of Maya's favorite flower, the blue sapphire vine. It did not grow here, but he realized he could send her a gift she loved. He opened his Calm link and drafted a plan. Instead of waiting for her to write, he would create a message she could feel. He pulled up schematics for a tiny holo projector. He sketched an image of the sapphire vine in bloom, and he remembered Maya's laughter when they recorded sky songs on that old hill. He added an audio clip of wind chimes and birdsong from their homeworld. Kai worked late into the night in his workshop. Ta-da! Circuits, calibrated lenses, and tested speakers. His hands moved with purpose. He mixed seed packets of earth flowers that resembled the sapphire vine. He carefully packaged them in a sealed pod. He wrote a note. "For my hour, memories are seeds. Let them grow across any distance." When the device was ready, Kai held it in his palms. The tiny projector flickered to life, showing a cascade of blue petals drifting in soft breeze. The song of the sky filled the room. He smiled, feeling hope stir in his chest. He had built a bridge of memories. He packed the package with care and sent it on the next outbound courier ship. The transit would take weeks, but he felt pride knowing he had acted. He no longer waited passively. He had created a way to connect days past, and Kai returned to work and chores. Twice he almost sent another message in frustration, but he paused. He reminded himself that patience was part of hope. He focused on simple joys: a steaming cup of tea, the gentle hum of the biodomes, the laughter of children on the street. Each moment reminded him why human spirit thrived on small wonders. One evening, as he prepared for bed, a notification lit up his comlink. His heart sped up. He tapped the screen. A message from Maya had arrived. "I received your gift. I saw the vine, I heard the sky song. I felt home." His eyes filled with tears of joy. She wrote that the holoprojector had played in her new room, and she felt his presence as if he stood beside her. She said that the seeds would bloom on her balcony, and every petal would remind her of their bond. Kai read her words again and again. His sadness melted away, replaced by warmth and gratitude. He typed back, "I am so glad. Our memories are stars distant, but always shining. I look forward to the day we share them in person." He set the comlink aside and stood by the window. The city lights reflected in his eyes. He breathed in deep. The distance between them had not broken their bond. It had shown him the strength of human hope and ingenuity. Kai whispered to the quiet room, "Our hearts can span any galaxy." He smiled and turned off the lights. As he closed his eyes, he held on to hope, knowing that no distance could dim the light they shared. Rhea sat alone in the echoing hall of the old observatory. The metal walls hummed with the soft pulse of life support systems. She pressed her hand against a dusty viewport and stared at the distant stars. Each point of light felt cold without Quinn beside her. Quinn had been her guide, her teacher, and her friend. Now Quinn was gone. Quinn had accepted a position on a faraway research station beyond the nebula. Rhea had celebrated the chance for her mentor. But when the transport ship had lifted off, Rhea felt an emptiness as vast as space itself. She went to the observatory every evening, hoping to catch a message from Quinn, but the comm channel remained silent. During the day, Rhea worked in the lab, calibrating instruments and sorting data from deep space probes. She watched the readouts carefully. She found joy in patterns and ingenuity in puzzles. Still, her thoughts drifted to Quinn's laughter. The way Quinn described constellations as stories written in light, Rhea longed to hear those stories again. One afternoon, Rhea discovered a broken transmitter in the storage bay. The parts were outdated, but she recognized the model Quinn had taught her to repair years ago. A spark of hope flickered in her chest. If she could rebuild this old unit, maybe she could reach Quinn directly. She carried the transmitter back to the lab. The device was battered and scratched. Rhea set it on a workbench and opened the casing. Inside, tangled wires and scorched circuits stared back at her. She recalled Quinn's patient voice. Every problem is an invitation to learn. She smiled softly. She would accept that invitation. For days and nights, Rhea soldered wires, replaced burned-out capacitors, and rewrote firmware. She worked by starlight and under the glow of holoscreens. The station's corridors grew quiet as others slept, but Rhea kept going. Each correction she made felt like rebuilding part of her own resolve. When the repairs were done, she climbed the narrow ladder to the antenna tower. Outside, the wind of the upper deck whistled around her. She secured the transmitter in place and adjusted its angle toward Quinn's station. As she activated the power, the device hummed to life, sending a beacon across the void. She returned to the lab and watched the signal meter. The needle jumped, then fell. The link was unstable. Rhea's heart sank briefly. But she remembered human history, pioneers who crossed oceans and deserts with broken equipment and raw courage. She took a deep breath. She would try again. She refined the signal code, boosted the transmitter's output, and added error-correcting sequences. Then she composed a message. "Quinn, this is Rhea. I miss your stories. Please respond." She sent it with a hopeful pulse. The readout glowed, showing the beams streaming outward. Hours passed. Rhea tried to work, but her mind raced. At the viewport and saw a meteor shower. Tiny lights blazed trails across the darkness. She thought of Quinn watching the same sky from another world. The thought filled her with warmth. She believed their bond could span any distance. Late at night, the signal meter finally showed a return ping. A data packet had arrived. Rushed to decode it. Her fingers flew over the console. The message appeared. "Rhea, I hear you. I see the beacon. I cannot stay long, but I will send you a story." Rhea's eyes filled with tears. She read Quinn's words, a tale of constellations that danced like living creatures, and of a new star that might bear their names. Quinn wrote that Rhea's courage had reached her across the gulf of space. She said she missed Rhea's bright questions and clever solutions. Rhea held the printout to her chest. The ache inside her softened into hope. She knew Quinn's station would send more messages in time. Each message would be a bridge, built from human will and friendship. The next day, Rhea climbed back to the antenna tower. She tweaked the alignment slightly and tested the transmitter again. The beam shone steady. She spoke softly into the microphone. "Thank you, Quinn. I will keep this link alive." Below her, the station's lights blinked like a small galaxy. Rhea looked upward, and the stars seemed to shine brighter. We whispered to the night sky. We are never truly apart. The quiet observatory, Rhea returned to her work with renewed energy. She mapped distant suns and charted new routes. Each discovery carried a piece of her hope. She felt Quinn's presence in every data point, in every note she sent. Rhea understood now that distance was only a challenge to overcome, not a barrier to friendship. Humanity had crossed oceans, built cities on barren worlds, and dreamed of stars. Rhea would honor that spirit. She would reach Quinn. And together they would write new stories among the stars. Juno sat at the edge of the empty platform, her fingers tracing the grooves in the metal floor. The station lights glowed softly overhead, but the silence felt heavy. She held an old music chip in her hand, the last gift from her brother, Marcus. He had left months ago to join a new colony on a distant planet. Since then, Juno had not heard his voice. Every morning, Juno woke early and walked to the transit hub. She scanned the arrival screens, hoping to see Marcus's name. Instead, she saw new arrivals from other world traders, scientists, families. She watched them reunite with loved ones, their smiles warming the chilly station air. Juno's heart ached at the memory of Marcus's laugh. During the day, Juno worked in the station's hydroponics bay. She tended rows of green shoots and rich soil beds, ensuring each plant had water and light. The work was steady and comforting, but her thoughts drifted to Marcus. She recalled how he once helped her restore a failing fern, teaching her patience and care. She missed his gentle guidance. At lunchtime, Juno joined her friend Raphael in the mess hall. He nudged her plate of noodles with a grin. "You look lost today," he said kindly. His brown eyes held concern. "You're thinking about Marcus again, aren't you?" Juno nodded and placed the chip on the table. "I miss him so much. I don't know how to reach him. The colony's comms are limited, and I fear my messages get lost." Raphael leaned forward. "You are one of the most determined people I know. Remember when you built that makeshift water filter from scrap parts? You always find a way. Maybe you can do something similar with the music chip." Her eyes brightened. She picked up the chip and studied its casing. Marcus had programmed it with a hidden beacon signal. If she could boost its output, the chip might reach him directly. The idea sparked hope in her chest. After work, Juno returned to the hydroponics bay with the chip. She climbed a small ladder to access the maintenance panel. The chip slot was meant for simple audio playback, but she saw extra wiring tucked behind it. She pressed her forehead against the cool panel and remembered Marcus's words, "Creativity is our greatest tool." She removed the panel and found the chip port. The wiring was thin, but Juno was careful with her movements. She brought her toolkit and attached a small amplifier circuit she had kept from a broken drone. She soldered each joint with steady hands, following Marcus's example of precision. As she worked, Juno felt a familiar thrill. Each connection she made was a step toward bridging the distance between them. She calibrated the amplifier to boost the beacon frequency. When she finished, the chip glowed faintly. She held her breath and inserted it into the slot. The machine hummed to life. Juno pressed play. Warm chords filled the bay and the beacon signal pulsed quietly underneath. She smiled, tears of relief. In her eyes, she had turned a simple music chip into a message in a bottle, cast across the stars. That night, Juno sent her own message alongside the melody. She spoke into the console. "Marcus, I miss you. I built this so you can hear our song and know I'm here." Her voice echoed through the empty corridors. She hoped he would hear it. Days passed. Juno continued her routine, watering plants and fixing lights. Each time she passed the station, she checked for replies. Her heart fluttered with every C. Incoming transmission. She stayed patient, trusting in human ingenuity and the bond she shared with her brother. On the 5th day, the station comms blinked. A small data packet arrived for her. Juno's hands shook as she opened it. Marcus's message appeared. "Juno, I heard the song and felt it in my heart. I am safe, and I think of you every day. I have a gift for you too." Juno pressed play on the audio. Marcus's voice came through, warm and steady. Then she saw another chip attached to reply. Inside was a recording of his recorder, the sound of wind through alien trees and distant laughter. He had recorded a new melody and sent seeds of a local vine. Juno held the new chip and seed packet close. Her heart swelled with joy. She whispered, "Thank you, Marcus." The ache of distance lifted, replaced by hope and strength. She placed the vine seeds in the soil beside her ferns, planting a reminder of their shared love. As dawn broke over the station, Juno stood by the viewport and watched the first light of a new day. She smiled, certain that no matter how far apart they were, human hope and cleverness could bridge any gap. She whispered to the morning sky, "Our bond spans worlds." With renewed purpose, Juno returned to her work. The hydroponics bay glowed with fresh green life. Each plant, each note of music, and each message carried the spirit of humanity's determination and hope. And Juno knew that as long as she believed, distance could never break the ties of the human heart. Noah stood at the edge of the cliff, watching the twin suns sink into the horizon. Below, waves crashed gently against the shore, and sea-glass clouds floated lazily across the sky. He held a small stone in his hands, smooth, dark, and shaped like a heart. It was the last thing Lonnie had given him before she left for the Jupiter colonies. They had grown up together on this ocean world. Every morning they used to swim in the salt caves and watch the sunrise. They had laughed, dreamed, and planned. Futures side by side. Then Lonnie received her acceptance to the Jupiter science program. She hugged him tightly, whispered, "I'll stay in touch," and was gone the next day. Noah had smiled and wished her luck. But since that day, a piece of him had felt missing. He wrote messages, but the network between their worlds was slow. Sometimes it took weeks for a reply. Sometimes there was no reply at all. Now, months had passed, and his last message still sat unread. Noah checked it every evening, hoping to see opened, hoping to see her name again. But the screen stayed the same, silent, cold. He placed the heart-shaped stone back into his pocket and walked home. The wind carried the scent of salt and memories. As he entered the small dome where he lived, he sat near his workshop, surrounded by half-finished machines and dusty blueprints. It had been a long time since he'd built anything new. He looked at the desk and saw an old project they once worked on together, a handheld light that changed, colors based on sound. Lonnie had called it a mood star. They had never finished. Noah picked it up, brushed off the dust, and felt something stir inside him. Maybe he could send her something more than a message. The next day, Noah began working again. He modified the mood star to record audio and visuals. He added a memory crystal, able to store everything he wanted to say and show. He loaded it with his favorite beach sounds waves, birds, and the wind through coral trees. He added videos of the ocean cliffs, their favorite cafe, and their old swimming spots. He even added a short clip of himself. Nervously, he spoke into the recorder. "Hey, Lonnie. I know things must be busy out there. I miss you. I hope you're okay. This is just something to remind you of home. And me." His voice shook a little at the end, but he smiled. It felt good to speak from the heart. Noah sealed the mood star into a protective pod and walked to AR, the courier office. He handed it to the clerk with the destination code for Jupiter Station 4. "Do you think it'll get there?" he asked. The clerk smiled gently. "It might take a while, but these things always find a way." Noah nodded and left with a strange mix of sadness and hope. For the first time in weeks, his heart felt lighter. Days passed. He returned to swimming, fixing machines, and even joined the local ocean cleanup crew. He didn't forget Lonnie Butt. Now, he was moving forward, found strength in action, in trying and hoping. One quiet evening, just as the suns touched the water, Noah's cum screen blinked. A new message. He rushed over, his heart pounding. It was from Lonnie. He opened it quickly. Her face appeared on the screen, her eyes shining and her hair tied back in a braid. She was smiling, really smiling. "Noah," she said, "I got your message. It's the sounds, the beach, your voice. I cried when I saw it. I've been so busy, and everything here is cold and fast. But your gift brought home to me. Thank you." She paused, then added, "I'm sorry for not writing sooner. More than I can say." "More than I can say, I'll write. More, I promise." Noah stared at the screen for a long time, his chest full of warmth. The stars above him blinked softly, like they were winking in approval. He whispered to the sky, "You're still with me, Lonnie?" Humanity had crossed galaxies, built cities in space, and sent machines to other stars, but the greatest strength Noah realized was the ability to care, to love, even across the coldest distances, to never stop trying. He opened his toolkit again. This time, he would build something new, not just to reconnect, but to share hope, laughter, and light across the stars. Asterisk Mira sat in her small space cabin on Lunar Outpost 3, staring at the screen on her wall. It showed a picture of her and her best friend Aaron standing together back on Earth, smiling in front of a rocket launch pad. That day had been full of joy, dreams, and promises. Now, months had passed since Aaron moved to Titan, Saturn's moon. He had been selected for a deep science mission, studying ice layers and strange signals under the surface. Mira had been proud, but also heartbroken. They had promised to message each other often, but the connection between the moons was slow. Some messages didn't go through. Others arrived late or out of order. She had sent him a message 2 weeks ago. She told him about her new work with solar arrays and how the Earth looked so small from here. She also said she missed his jokes, his advice, and just hearing him say her name. But there had been no reply. Mira curled up on her bunk and sighed. Outside her window, the stars looked close, yet the one person she wanted to reach felt a million miles away. Her chest ached in a quiet, heavy way. The next day, she tried to focus on her job. She walked across the metal corridors of the outpost to check the solar panels. She adjusted a sensor that had slipped out of place and fixed a power junction. With steady hands, but inside, her mind kept drifting back to Aaron. Later, in the lunchroom, her crewmate Elliot sat beside her. "You've been quiet lately," he said gently. "Something wrong?" Mira hesitated, then nodded. "My friend Aaron. He moved to Titan. We were really close. Keep sending messages, but I haven't heard back in a long time." Elliot offered her a small smile. "Long-distance friendships are hard. But you know what makes humans different? We never give up on those we love. We always find a way."
Wow.
Those words stayed with Mira all day. That night, she returned to her cabin and opened the drawer where she kept old parts wires, chips, lights, sensors. She stared at the pieces and remembered something she and Aaron once built, a light globe that flickered in rhythm with heartbeat sensors. It had been silly and fun, but it had connected them. An idea sparked in her mind. She began building something new, a memory globe, a small glowing orb filled with tiny recordings, videos, sounds, feelings. She wanted to send something Aaron could hold in his hands, something that said more than a simple message ever could. For days, Mira worked late after her shift. She recorded clips of herself walking the dusty gray hills outside the outpost of the sunrise over Earth, of her humming their favorite song. She added short voice notes. "This is where I eat lunch. I fixed another panel today. I miss the way you used to explain stars like they were your old friends." Also recorded a message from her heart. "I know we're far apart, but I still feel close to you, Aaron. Even in silence, I hope you're thinking of me like I think of you." When it was finished, the memory globe glowed softly in her hands, full of light and warmth. She carefully packaged it and sent it on the next supply ship headed toward Titan. It would take time, maybe weeks, but she had done something. She had acted. That gave her hope. Days passed. Mira returned to her routine fixing panels, running system checks, exercising in the small gym. She tried not to check her messages too often, but every time the notification light blinked, her heart jumped. Then one afternoon it happened. The screen flashed. New message from Titan Base, private. Aaron. Mira gasped and opened the message with trembling fingers. Aaron's face appeared, smiling, a little older, with stubble on his chin and a deep look in his eyes. He held up the glowing memory globe. "Mira," he said, his voice full of emotion. This is the best thing I've ever received." He looked around, then back at the camera. "It's lonely here sometimes, cold, quiet, but your globe lit up my cabin, like you were here beside me. I listened to your messages again and again. I miss you too. I always have." Tears filled Myra's eyes. Aaron continued, "I'm sending something back. It's not as perfect as yours, but it's a song I wrote. For you, you reminded me that no matter how far apart we are, we're still connected." The video ended. Mira sat quietly, holding the screen, her heart full. She whispered, "You're still with me." She walked outside to the ridge overlooking Earth. The stars above shimmered. The globe in her hand glowed softly. In that moment, she understood what made humanity strong. Not ships, not machines, not cities in space, but the heart. The will to love across light years. The refusal to let distance erase connection. Mira smiled and whispered to the stars. We find a way. Talia sat beside the soft glow of the observation window, looking out at the wide, endless space beyond. Her station orbited a quiet planet in the outer rim, far from Earth, far from noise, and far from the person she missed the most, her older sister Lyra. They had always been close. Lyra was bold, full of stories and laughter. Talia had followed her everywhere, through forests on Earth, through repair shops, and even through the astronaut training program. But when a mission opened up on a distant starship, Lyra had taken it. It's just 2 years, she had said. We'll talk all the time. That had been 14 months ago. The connection between their stations wasn't steady. Talia's last message had gone out weeks ago, and there had been no reply. She sighed, hugging her knees to her chest. The stars outside blinked, but they felt cold and far away. That morning, Talia walked through the quiet corridors of the orbital lab. Passing silent research rooms and humming air filters, she greeted coworkers and ran system checks. She smiled when needed, but inside, she felt a growing emptiness. In the communication bay, she sat down and tried one more time. She sent another short message. Lyra, I miss you. I hope you're okay. I wish I knew how to feel close again. She stared at the screen, not expecting an answer. Then she stood and left the room quietly. Later, she went to the garden dome. It was a small greenhouse floating above the planet. She walked among the tall green stalks and soft leaves. Lyra had helped design this dome. She used to say, "A green world reminds us where we come from." Talia stopped at a small sprout just beginning to bloom. She knelt beside it and whispered, "I'm trying, Lyra. I'm trying to keep growing." She remembered how humans had left Earth long ago, spread across moons and stars, not because it was easy, but because they believed. They believed they could stay connected even in the darkest, coldest corners of space. Suddenly, an idea came to her. Back in her room, Talia opened her old project folder. Inside were saved designs she had created with Lyra years ago. Small drones meant to carry personal messages between ships. They were never finished, but the frame and power core had promise. Talia rolled up her sleeves. She worked through the night, cutting and reshaping metal, updating the code, and carefully assembling the core. The drone wasn't fast. It could travel steadily across space with a single mission: deliver a personal message to Lyra. She recorded a message into its heart. Lyra, it's me. I don't know where you are now, but I hope you're safe. Miss your voice, your stories. But I believe, just like you taught me, that we can always reach each other, no matter how far. She attached a small flower from the greenhouse inside the drone's clear shell, living piece of her world. The next morning, she opened the station's emergency launch bay and sent the drone into space. It looked like a star, blinking with soft blue light, moving slowly but surely. She watched until it vanished. For the next few days, Talia felt a strange mix of fear and hope. What if it didn't reach her? What if Lyra never saw it? Deep down, she trusted the drone would find its way. She trusted the strength of her own hands and the power of her feelings. On the 6th day, a soft alert beeped in the comm room. Talia ran to check it. Incoming message. Origin Starship Horizon. Her breath caught. She opened the file. Lyra's face appeared, tired but smiling. "Talia," she said, voice shaking with emotion, "your little star drone found me." I held that flower and cried. I thought I lost our connection, but you reminded me. Talia's hands covered her mouth. Lyra continued, "This past year has been hard. I didn't know how to reach out. I was scared you forgot me. But you didn't. You found a way." She paused, eyes shining. "I'm sending a drone back with new seeds plants from this world. Let's grow something new together, even if we're apart. We'll share a garden. Always." The screen went dark. Talia stood still for a long moment. Then she smiled. A deep, quiet smile full of warmth. Aside, stars filled the sky, cold and vast, but not empty. Not anymore. In her heart, she felt something strong, not just hope, but certainty. Humans had once stared at stars with wonder. Now, they lived among them. And even when distance separated them, they found ways to reach across the dark, because humanity was more than ships and machines. It was about never letting go. It was about sending light into the void and believing someone would see it.